that want to hold the system accountable are the same people that would rather save seats to make sure that Republicans don't take it. So, like many people here, I'm sick and tired of black people having black people come to when you want votes. But when we come to you to pass accountability bills or to hold the justice system accountable, you do not open your door. So why is it that we continuously open our doors for you? So we're asking President Biden, because we have lost faith in Tim Walz. He's the same individual that just yesterday introduced a $9 million at the Minnesota Senate to bring more cops from outside jurisdictions to our state that will not be held accountable. And he has yet to say anything about police accountability bills. So we're asking President Biden and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to do your job, because Tim Walz is right. We are in a state of emergency because black people are dying, and under his leadership, many black people have died. So he's got murder on his hands. So it's time you do your job and hold this system accountable, because we know it works for you when it's time to hold the black officer accountable. So do your job.
Do your job.
And quickly before we take questions, I'd like to invite Chelsea Nazers to do a quick piece, spoken word piece.
Hello, everyone. While I was just down here to listen, I felt it on my heart. I do spoken word to read this piece that I wrote a couple days ago. All right. It's called Dante Wright. We're tired of getting killed. We're tired of having to heal. In my city, one officer's trial's not even over before 12 recklessly pulling their steel. Women are men. Behind that badge, there's many cowards in disguise overstepping their stand, using their uniform to casually inflict their racist malice hate. It's too many officers okay with being our ending fate. By our, I mean black people, because they've been killing us compared to white people at an astronomically higher rate. Pride too high to see when they're wrong. You're a 26-year veteran, man. You knew what was going on. After all these years, really? Accidental discharge of your firearm? You thought it was a taser. Even though you clutched it from your dominant side, you can't stay they way the same. We all know that's a lie. Why don't you tell the truth, Officer Potter? Your nerves got the best of you while attempting to arrest an unarmed black man. Easier to shoot instead of putting your gun down where you stand. If you can't take the heat, get the hell out the kitchen. If you're scared of the assailant, let back and finish that mission. And fear for your life is different than someone unarmed resisting arrest in broad daylight. People mad they tearing the city up. We mad 12 steady sending our people up. So many to name, this ain't right. But this one I wrote for you, say his name, Dante Wright. Thank you.
We're going to open up for some questions.
Question for you guys. My name is Jamal Landis. I'm a reporter with Newsy out of Chicago. Obviously, the theme of the president is to bring in the federal government, to bring in President-elect Kamala Harris. And obviously, they ran on reform rather than that sort of transformative change that you all have been mentioning. And my question for you all is, I guess, why do you have faith that it'll work out bringing in the federal government based on what we have heard from them on the campaign trail?
The first problem is they haven't even started with reform, let alone transformation. And we don't have faith in them. But we do have a duty to hold them accountable for what they ran on. They came and knocked on the door of the black community to get elected, and now it's time to pay the price for our votes. We are not like some of the black politicians that are happy sitting around a table with them. We are demanding justice. And they can appease those people, but they still have to answer to the black community at large. We are the ones who are suffering under the weight of oppression, and we expect them to live up to their responsibilities as the leaders of the free world.
I'll add to that. The Democrats have no more excuses. This isn't just about Biden and Harris. They control all the three houses. And so if they fail, it's the Democratic Party that continued to fail. And in this time, they have no Republicans to blame.
That's right. That's right. Any other questions? Hi. So I'm Judith from the Shade Room. I am wondering what you guys think. So basically, black voters are kind of like it's like a catch-22. There's a situation where you feel like voting for Democrats is kind of like the lesser of two evils, and that's kind of been held over our head for a really long time. Especially we saw in 2020 with Trump versus Biden. So moving forward in 2024, do you guys think that black people should withhold their vote from the Democratic Party regardless of who is running against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
So first of all, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party sadly are the same. The Republican Party freed the slaves, so called. So we know for sure that both parties have historically failed communities of color. One party likes to be right next to us, another party likes to stand next to the police with their dogs. But the reality is that this country is built on the backs of black people, indigenous people. And this country has failed the Native American people and black people for so long. So I think it might be the right time for poor people in this country, black people in this country, and many folks who are tired of the broken political system to maybe create an independent party that will bring forth the People's Party that will bring forth. But right now, the Democratic Party until 2022 is on the clock. We will see what they do. And after that, I think people are no longer going back. We are going forward. And that mean without both of these parties.
I just want to add to that a little bit because I do agree with my brother, but I also think that we have to start grooming and running people for office. It's not enough to just vote for folk who just come up and say they running for office, but who do we want in office? How do we groom them and how do we prepare them to be in office so that we are supporting folk who have our best interests at heart? It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, neither party has served us well, you know, but if we have the right people running, and if we're putting our support behind the right people, then we have a better chance of transforming systems. One of the things that I also want to say is that it's more than just voting. It's holding people accountable once they get into office. We have a habit of voting people in, and then we don't hold them accountable when they get to office. And we have to show up. We have to show up at the meetings. We have to show up at the hearings. And we have to show up before they already have the plan in place so that we have input from the beginning, not after the train has already left the station and now we trying to catch up. And so I think that you ask a good question. I think it's a question that we're going to have to really deeply think about. But I also think that we have to prepare people and groom people to run for office and put people in office who have our best interests at heart and who can transform systems.
And we have time. And we have time.
And I want to add on to what Jelani was saying, because the thing is, like you're saying, that it does feel like the black community votes for the Democrats a lot because it's the lesser of two evils. But in reality, they're the same party. Systemic oppression that we see in America that type of oppression can only be held over us if both parties was complicit in it. So that's what we need to understand. The Democrats and the Republicans, what we're talking about is the difference between someone going up there like Trump and saying, painting all Mexicans as rapists and murderers, and the difference between that and then someone like Biden, who is part of an administration that had the highest deportation rate of all time with Obama. That's the difference. They're doing the same thing, but some people say it out loud and some people say kind words and say they care, when in reality, with their policies, they don't. That's why we need a new party. That's why we need a revolutionary party and a party for the people. Because right now, the Democrats and Republicans, the only thing that they're doing is they're trying to benefit themselves and their pockets and protect their property. And that's not what we need. We need what the people need.
I just want to give a quick fact check on Black people vote for the Democrats, right? Black people this last election and elections previously have actually voted not to vote, more than they have voted for any person or party. There are a number of reasons for that. And then there are actually a lot of Black people who their vote was suppressed. So let's think about this. This is the system of government we currently have. If we're going to have a new party, we are allowed to. If we want to stand up in a hearing, we are allowed to. If we want to be in the streets protesting, we are allowed to. So when we are talking about what our rights are, these are rights that the Constitution validates, but these are rights that are inherent to us being on this land as people. So let's stand by that. You do not have to be 18 to reach out to your representative. You do not have to be documented to be in the streets and to be a person for change and to say what is right. You do not have to be registered to vote to see the change in our policies. And so that's what we're calling for. Even when we're talking about this mass incarceration system, they strip our rights to vote. And they're making decisions about prisoners, and prisoners are not at the table. And then we see prisoners dying, and we see prisoners being tortured. Even in COVID-19, we see prisoners being isolated and being silenced while they're getting COVID, and they're thinking, everybody got COVID in here, I'm gonna die. And so where is their voice? Who are we to not listen to them? Because this country, the foundation of the values of this country is built upon freedom of speech, upon freedom. I mean, I'm going to say it again. So what's free?
Is there any other questions? My name is Jonathan McClellan, and I was a national delegate for the DFL party. And I want Biden and Kamala Harris to know that if you think that your lack of action is not affecting the delegates who helped get you into office, I was Bernie Sanders national delegate, but after you took it, we helped you get into office. If you don't think that we're shook and we're asking where you are, wait till 2024.
Was there another question? I'll ask one more if nobody else has anything. Obviously, you all have mentioned some specific changes you all want made. Repealing 1033, I heard. Qualified immunity, I heard. While you all have national media, the president's ear, is there anything in particular, maybe a top three, the kinds of things that you all want done immediately? What are the kinds of things that you all want to see done immediately, as you all mentioned, to kind of bring that change that has an effect right now?
I'll give one, and other people please chime in. We need to end the war on drugs immediately, and we need to release those folks who are incarcerated solely on drug-related crimes from prison, because we have demonized Black and Latino men in this country for many years because of a connection to the war on drugs. And now that marijuana and other drugs are legal in other parts of this country, white men are able to profit, become multimillionaires, and there is no demonization and no incarceration. That is not right for that to happen in that way. That is something that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris could work to do immediately, because they are also responsible for many of the drug war prisoners who are incarcerated. And we want to send a message to those who are incarcerated that we have not forgotten about you. We stand in solidarity with you, and we will continue fighting for you.
We put together, our collective of organizations put together some legislation here in the state of Minnesota that we're advancing right now that is sitting on empty desks. Number one is removing the statute of limitations on wrongful death, House File 717, prohibiting qualified immunity for law enforcement, House File 1104, releasing body camera footage within 48 hours, House File 1103, ending no-knock warrants, House File 1762, ending police-only responses to mental health calls, House File 1686, police professional liability insurance, House File 440, ending prosecution for reporting police misconduct, House File 2201, civilian oversight strengthened, House File 640. We also support the Hardale-Sherrill Act of 2021 and the Flando-Castile Omnibus Bill.
I have one question real quick.
One more. So the third one is we need the federal government to reopen and open all of the investigations of officer-involved shootings that have been put on hold during the Trump administration immediately. We also want President Biden to immediately usher a task force using the Department of Justice and other departments to bring that law into every city when an officer-involved shooting happens, and we want to see that. And in the state of Minnesota, we know that there are 3 candidates right now to be the next U.S. attorney, and one of them has lost the faith in this community, Andrew Lugar. We don't want him back, and we need to make sure that if he brings someone like that back, there will be consequences for his party. So I think that's another pointer. And for him, Amy Klobuchar, who supports him.
I have a quick question. For the individuals that was arrested, you guys hear anything from them, or are they going to free them or drop the charge? Also, the 646 people that was arrested on the highway.
The charges are. So I was one of the 646 people arrested. The charges have still not been dismissed against us. We know that Governor Walz is using his leverage in supporting the city of Minneapolis and bringing in a militarized police force to keep those charges intact. It's a waste of time, energy, and resources to keep those charges hanging over our heads. We're encouraging all 646 people, if they are able to do so, it's not legal advice, but if they're able to do so, to fight their charges. And as far as people being arrested, as far as we understand, we have jail support that has been happening through the National Lawyers Guild and the Legal Rights Center, and people are typically being released within 36 hours of being detained. Any other questions? All right. Well, we want to thank you all for taking the time to be here with us. You see that we have some very serious concerns about what's happening in the state of Minnesota. The Black community is not safe. We have been neglected, and we are using our voices to demand that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.